Are you ready to feel like it's Friday every day? I'm Mark Labriola II, and this is the Friday Habit. We interview experts to learn how to bring excitement, possibility, and sweet, sweet relief into every single day, no matter what day it is. If you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, or agency leader, get ready to grow your business, lead with purpose, and build a life you love. Welcome to the Friday Habit. And welcome back to another Friday Habit. We are winning today, and we have a great guest. We have somebody with lots of knowledge and lots of experience, and I'm excited to pick his brain. Today, we've got Bill Canady on the show. Bill, welcome to the Friday Habit.
It's great to be here, Mark. Man, it's exciting. It's the end of the week. We're slowly getting ourselves almost there. We got one more to go. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm excited to pick your brain and hear more about the things that you're into. But I mean, really, you've got a lot of experience managing tens of thousands of people and managing billions of dollars of budgets, and you've kind of created a system, the Profitable Growth Operating System, the PGOS. And so I'm excited because I think, a lot of times people talk about theoretical ideas. You always hear this, right? When someone's getting their MBA, it's like, oh, their professor in business never even had a business before, or has never managed anything, but they read a lot of books and they got a degree and now they teach it. But you clearly are somebody who has not only teaching it, but you are living it. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're doing now, and why should we listen to you, Bill?
Well, you're a great hype man. Yeah, you're exactly right. Look, I've been blessed all my life. I've learned from some great mentors. Went to great schools, like you said. Professors who've been out there and been part of it. So what I do today. So I have one company called Arrowhead Engineered Products, or AEP. That's about $1.5 billion. I have another that I'm chairman of. That's OTC Industrial. I was actually CEO and chair until January, and I was fortunate to promote one of my guys. That one's about $1 billion that we run. And then I have kind of as my side gig, my hustle, right? Like you with this is I write books, and I have this institute where we go out and we talk about the model that we use to run these businesses, the things these really practical tools that we, all been around our whole life, and just looking at them maybe through a new lens, a new framework. So things we already do, like our whole system is the things that are working, right? Where you look at the data and you see you're making money. We suggest you should do more of that. I know that's crazy, right? And the things
wild ideas,
that you're losing money on, you should probably stop that. We're gonna say you should stop that, and the data tells us every time.
Yeah. So how did you get into business? And tell us a little bit of your journey, kind of like where you grew up and like how you got into these things. Because clearly you're doing something that I would say, not a lot of people get to the level that you've gotten to, as far as the amount of capital that you're managing and the amount of people that you're managing. Like, this is kind of in that top echelons of people out there doing that. And so I guess I'd love to hear a little bit of your journey of growing up and just your passion and maybe some of the twists and turns that brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been blessed my whole life. I really have. I grew up and I tell us all the time, in a double wide trailer at the end of a dead end dirt road in a little town out in Richlands, North Carolina. My dad was basically a handyman / truck driver, and my mom cut hair, right? She was a beautician, and back in the day. And for me, the thing that was really my ticket off the farm was my mom encouraged me to join the Navy. She drove me down to enlist in it, and I did that. Was in 3 years. Wound up getting out, meeting my beautiful wife, and we've been married over 30 years now.
Wow!
Right?
Congratulations.
And, so it was just kind of I'd like to say it was luck. I don't know, but I think all of us have inside of us to do whatever it is that we want to go do, right? And I always tell people, like, pick your problems carefully. So I didn't start out this way. I started out as a sales guy, got out of the Navy, got a job hawking filters, right? I was driving all over, seeing people.
Rain soft filters, water filters.
Yeah, I wish it was industrial stuff, right? Things for a paint, but man, wouldn't that would have been really cool? I probably wasn't qualified for that, but yeah. So we sold air filtration, liquid filtration products to businesses, and a guy took a chance on me. I'd got out of the Navy. This is how old I am. So we didn't even have the internet then. We had magazines, these crazy things that you held in your hand.
Yeah, the pictures and words all in there.
Yeah, words everywhere. It's like left stains on your hands. And in the back of it was help wanted ads. I went to the back, I pulled it up, and they were looking for. I was living in San Diego. I just got out of the Navy, and answered an ad, sent the guy my resume. This is when we typed them, mailed it to it, and he called me, and I went up there and met with a guy named Bob Beck, and he was an extraordinary gentleman. His family owned this small business, and I moved to Chicago and became a sales guy for him, right, and had a territory. I was in the Midwest, so I started out with Illinois, Indiana. And Wisconsin, that really Chicagoland, if you're familiar with that term.
Yeah.
I started there, and my wife, who I met, and she was graduating college. She was going to become a school teacher, and she of course did that. And I always felt like I had a little bit more in me than just being a salesman. Being a salesman is a very honorable profession, but I wanted to lead and manage and do things like that. And plus, my wife had a college education, so I decided to go back, get my education. I went to a university called Elmhurst, and extraordinarily great school. They were called Elmhurst College at the time. Today they're a university. I actually sit on that board now. I'm the chairman of their investment committee.
Full circle.
I know, if you can believe that. But great school, one of the top 25 in the country for liberal arts school. But really, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go to the University of Chicago. And the only way that I could get into it was I had to have an undergraduate degree. So I had this guy I knew, and he had gone to the University of Chicago, and he let me use his login. This is the time before Facebook became Facebook. They actually called their group Facebook, believe it or not. And I looked up all the people. I was living in Chicago, as I said, who had gone to a local school and got into the University of Chicago. And Elmhurst was the number one. They had a grand total of 5 people who had been. And so I applied to Elmhurst, and it really fit what I was looking for. They had a great program. They had nights and weekends. You could go during the day. And, I was a married man at that time. And soon kids came. So I did that, graduated, worked my way into University of Chicago, got out of that. And that really became the beginning of my journey when I switched from being a commercial person to really more of a general manager, right? That was the ticket. So
was that the idea of the degree? Did you have a particular degree you wanted, or did you say, okay, if I just get a bachelor's or a master's, then I can maybe start applying for these leadership management type roles?
Yeah, it was really me working backwards. So if you go to a place like Chicago or Harvard or Stanford, what those are career changers, right? They're a global program, and whatever you're doing. So I was a sales guy. It will allow people to look at you differently, if you will, and allow you to go to it. So that's why I chose that. It was just a great program. I knew I had kind of the commercial savvy, and I was actually having a lot of success. I wanted people to think I could do math as well. So Chicago was famous for its, and still is to this day, for its focus on quantitative analysis. And that was why I wanted to go there. I knew it would make people see me different. And that's why I chose, and I was just really blessed to get in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so it was kind of like taking that step of, all right, how do I differentiate myself from everybody else who's just getting out of the military or just graduating from high school? It's like, what can I do to differentiate myself? And you kind of thought like, all right, well, let me work backwards and do this thing. And then was it kind of an open-ended deal where you were like, all right, well, I don't know what's going to happen after this, but something hopefully good will come of it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So it's interesting. So I thought of it as earning the right to win. So I took what I had. I looked at what people who had done the things I thought I wanted to go do, and then I looked at, well, what was one of the keys, and I thought, well, I need education. And so I overlaid that, and I said, what do I have in common? That whole process took me almost 5 years to get through, from getting a degree, getting into it, getting out of it, and going through it all. So it was a really long-term plan, but by focusing on the critical few things, marshaling my forces and my time, and having a really supported family, I was able to get in and get that. And when I came out of it, I actually thought I wanted to be an investment banker, right?
Okay.
I wanted to buy and sell companies. I was going to New York, so I did an internship at Bank of America, and they offered me a job. They said, yeah, come in, you can go in our industrial group and be a banker. So my wife and I, we fly to New York, and so I go in to meet everyone and see if I can get the offer. She goes out to explore the city. So we come back, and I get the offer, and she goes, I hope you and your new family enjoy living in New York, because I am not moving to New York. We were living in Chicago. She's like, no way I'm going there. We had two little babies. We had one that was 3 and one that was, she goes, I'm not doing it. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I applied and really went back into the industries I knew, which was industrial manufacturing, and got a job as a plant manager, a marketing and kind of plant manager for a company in Rockford, Illinois, and went up there. And I got really lucky. So believe this or not, I got really lucky. The company was doing terribly. They were a massive company, about $25 billion, called Inventus, out of Europe. And they were having a terrible time, and there's always opportunity in chaos. And I got put on the deal team to sell that business, and that was a big turning point for me. I figured out, hey, I knew how to sell companies, or at least I knew how to be. I wasn't anywhere near the lead, but I got part of it, and that helped me kind of get in and understand what I was going to go do. So
kind of build your resume in. Yeah. Well, yeah, I always think, for me, I always think about just having that forward momentum, like waking up every day and kind of making a choice to put yourself out there and make progress, because a lot of times it's the easy path is to do nothing or do something that comes extremely easy that doesn't push us out of our comfort zone. But when we kind of challenge ourselves a little bit and go into the unknown, and where maybe it can be scary, that's where sometimes you find that luck happens. I feel like the harder I work, the luckier I get.
You're 100% right. I think about life at all, every one of these. I had no idea where I was going to be or how I was going to be. I knew what I wanted, but it's hard to be so specific. I know I want to work here. I know I want to be on a podcast someday.
That's right.
All that. Who knows, right? But every time you take a step forward, other doors open. Some close behind you, other ones open, and it takes that courage and that willingness to sacrifice whatever it is you need to sacrifice. I always tell people, be careful what you choose, because you're going to get that set of troubles. So make sure those troubles are the ones you want, and you'll get things happen. I call it luck, but it's really the harder I work, the luckier I get, the more the opportunities come.
Yeah. All right, so that was it. You got put into this interesting situation where now you have this resume of like being able to sell a business, and I'm assuming the sell went off great, and you guys had success with that.
Yeah, we did great with it, and I got a chance to go with a new company. I did not want to go with it. It was a French company called Siemens that bought us. I didn't want to go work for Siemens. There was nothing wrong with the company, but I didn't particularly like working for a company that was foreign owned. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but here's what you learn over time is the power sits wherever the power's at. So if I was in the United States and all the power was in the UK or in France, there was no path, forward. They valued the people they knew and trusted. So I did not go with the sale, and wound up going with another company. And from there, what happened was, I went into the next company and I helped them go through a sale. And I did that a couple of times because I kind of got that reputation. But what I really wanted to do was lead companies, right? I really wanted to do it. So I knew how to sell things. I knew how to run a plant by this point, do the general management. I knew how to do that stuff. Now I wanted to work my way up. And at this point, I knew I did want to become a president or a CEO of a company. I had no idea really how to get there. I mean, you can't. Everyone takes their own circuitous path, right?
Right. Well, and I'm sure too, it's hard. It's a hard position to get into because, one, either there needs to be like a succession plan that is already in place that someone's got their eye on you to say, hey, you'd be a good fit for this next phase of the business, or you kind of have to have that resume already of being a CEO or whatnot. So what was
You're
that like
exactly right.
as far as getting into that role? Like, was it more luck?
No, well, I guess it's all luck. I mean, at the end of the day, luck and hard work, as we said earlier. But there was two things I needed. So the first I knew I needed was I needed actual experience operating businesses, actually running them. You said something really important. People, like now that I've been a CEO a few times, I've had some success. I get offers all the time. People call you up, hey, do I know anyone? How about myself? And all that. So I'm very blessed to be in that situation today. But how do you actually get here? Which is it. So I needed true general management experience. I was lucky I went to work for a company called IDEX. And they really had great tools and training. And it was a bigger company, not as big as some of the other ones, but a couple $1 billion at the time. And I went into one of their companies and worked my way up over about a 7-year period. And that's when, I was running platforms of businesses, different businesses all over the world. A lot of operational experience by this point. You just keep raising your hand, right? It's, you'll hear people all the time say to you, maybe you need a little more experience at this or that. And perhaps that is true. Many times it is. But generally it comes down to opportunity. Because things happen all the time. I know I've done this. And I look around the room and I go, man, I need somebody. Hey, Mark, what are you doing? Right? I was sitting in a meeting. I won't name the company. I was sitting in a meeting with the CEO of this company. And the meeting was not going well. Not him and my point, but he was really upset at this other gentleman in the room who had been running this division. And this division they did vending machines. And so he fires the guy, right? And so that happens. And he's like, any idiot can run this group, right? I swear to God, any idiot can run this group. And I'm so he walks out, and right next to his office was the guy who led global IT for the business. And the guy was a really great guy, but he goes, hey, what are you doing? And he winds up, before it's over, he gives him the responsibility to run that group. Now, the guy he did a magnificent job at it, and his career has gone on to explode through the years. But the interesting thing was there's no way he could have qualified and got that job. It just would not have happened, right? You're running IT for a company, now you're going to go, no one gets that job that way. That's how he got it. And he went on to great things. So it's the same thing for all of us, right? You got to put yourself in these spots. And when you get the opportunity, you have to raise your hand and say you'll do it. Because that was a big deal, him getting the job. But two, he had to move. He had to move his whole family. He had to go to where that corporate headquarters was and all these things. And that's one of the key things I found is I remember I was running a company, and we wanted to come out with a career development program for emerging leaders, right? Yeah. And we put together all these great, what was the qualifications? And there was so many of them. And about 2 years later, we realized that the number one qualification that we had to figure out was, would people move for the job? The vast majority will not move, right? For all sorts of reasons. Their kids are in school. Their parents live there. They've never traveled anywhere. All these reasons, the vast majority of people would not move. So we revamped our entire process. And while everything else was important, the critical piece was, would they move?
Well, yeah. And that, to me, too, I think about that moving requires a little bit of suffering, It requires a little bit of, again, kind of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, right? And to have more of a long-term mindset when it comes to that. So that seems like a really great marker to say, okay, this person is willing to, one, put themselves out of their comfort zone and then have a long-term mindset, because it could be one of those things where they move, right, grow up, and then able to come back, and they've got the bigger salary and the better position and all that other kind of stuff. But so many people just don't make that sacrifice, right? It's like going to the gym. It's like, all right, like if you want a six-pack of abs, you got to eat right and you got to go to the gym. But so many people are like, well, I don't want to eat right and go to the gym. It's like, well, then you're not going to.
Reason. I mean, look look at me. I'm like a Stay Puft Marshmallow, man. It's terrible. But you're so true, right? I think I'm absolutely positive I would not be a sitting CEO today if I had not been one of them. We've moved 9 times through the years. And when you run industrial businesses, they are in the hot spots of nowhere, right? Cedar Falls, Iowa, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, Waukesha, on and on. It's never New York or Chicago or any of the really cool spots.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to put yourself and your family through that, the opportunity. Now you got to be good. You got to do the job.
Yeah, of course.
But it is hard to recruit people to Kalamazoo or Waterloo, Iowa. Wonderful towns, wonderful people. But companies really struggle getting people to go to these locations.
So then hindsight's 2020, and you're an older man now. Your kids are growing up. Looking back at that, do you feel like you made the right decisions, or would you do anything different, you think? Or what kind of advice would you give a younger guy coming up? Obviously, it sounds like you'd say, hey, you should make the move.
Well, it depends on what you want, right? And what you want to expect, what price you're willing to pay. So I look at where I'm at today and I recognize if I change one thing, any one thing, no matter how trivial, I would not be sitting here today, right? If I didn't take that job, if I didn't take that flight, if I didn't drive that car, I would not. We are all here because every decision we have had has stacked onto it. And as you make a decision, as you have a strategy, it just means other things are no longer options, right? Like I'm never going to be a jet fighter pilot, right? Too old now, and I missed that shot. So as you make these decisions in your life, they start stacking up on you. That's where you go. So I'm thrilled to death where I've have wound up. But I do look back and thought, man, I made that really hard on myself. I remember the first big job I got, I was actually pretty good at it. And when you're good at something, your reward is you get more work. So I got the next one, right?
Right.
And I did it, and I almost killed that company. And I did it because what I did in the first one I thought would work in the second one, and it was really not. Every situation is different, but your processes never change. It's like being a carpenter. A carpenter, we all use the same. They all have hammers and saws and drills and all that, but it's the blueprint. It's the process you're going to follow that makes it different. And when you come in, you think, well, look, I was command and control in the first one. I'm going to be command and control in the second one. Not if that culture does not value that. It will not work, right? So it's as a leader, you come in with this great set of tools that you've developed or learned or whatever the years. It's how you apply them. It's that blueprint you're following. To use that same example, are you building a house? Are you building a condo, a mansion in the sky? A seafront, a shack, whatever it is. Those same tools are used, but it's in how you apply them. And to be a great leader, you need to use things like listening and learning and then leveraging it and getting fellowship. And, the older I've got, the more I've realized I know the least now than I ever knew. I knew so much at 21, right? But now I'm in my 50s and I'm like, nope, I really don't know anything. So,
yeah. So you've kind of taken all of your experiences in life and all the positions that you've, gone through, and you kind of created this system, this PGOS system. And I think we're all familiar with the 80-20 rule. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, it's Pareto's principle, right? The 80-20 rule, it's like 80% of, the people, or 20%, the people do 80% of the work, or,
That's
all
right.
those,
You got,
those
look,
kind of principles.
You could be a CEO. you crossed the threshold, enough. So.
Yeah. So what makes it different from other kind of operating systems out there and frameworks? The subtitle of your book is, promises leaders, can take command of their business in 100 days. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, to say. And so I guess for me, I'm like, okay, what are these specifics that they should be doing in those first 100 days?
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. And you really can do it in 100 days. In fact, you can do it less. It depends on the situation. It's interesting, just to make a point. On one end, you've got a burning platform, a business that's truly failing. On the other end, you have a really successful company, and they know they're successful, and the results show it. The easiest by far to lead and grow will be the failing company, right? Because they want to get out of the situation they're in.
Yeah.
You can take a successful company. You go back, just to give an example. We take Sears and Kmart. At one point, one of the highest valued companies in the world, respected and admired everywhere. right? They in fact, I mean, they looked after communities, they funded charities, they had their names on stadium, right? I dare say they're even loved, and they're gone today. And why is that? It's because they lost sight of what their mission was. They lost sight of what people really valued them for. And as a leader, that's what you're coming in. So it's not just the data. So the process is rooted in data. What's working, what's not working. It's very simple to do. You can use Excel spreadsheets. These big, like we'll have millions of lines of data. So you need some software that can handle that. But nonetheless, you just come in and you're identifying who are my best customers? What are my best products? How do I do more of that? And where I'm losing money and customers that maybe don't value us and they buy things that we don't do very well at, how do I get out of that? Or how do I charge more? Or conversely, get them converted over there to that. So one, it takes the data. We talk today about AI all the time. It's going to replace us all. Maybe it will, but it goes beyond just simply looking at the numbers. You look at the numbers, and what the PGOS system is now, what do I do with those, right? And it's everything from, I segment it, and I understand where I'm going to put more resources to I buy companies, so there's M&A involved, mergers and acquisition. Yeah. It's talent. At the end of the day, it's really about talent. How do I get people owning it and focusing and using those tools, and what does that look like? So the system is really identifying what's working, what's not, and then organizing your company around that. And the reason that people don't do it, let's assume that they can understand the data and all that, because anyone really can, is change is hard.
Yeah.
Change is so hard. You're all of a sudden going to take things that you were doing, and tomorrow you're not going to do that anymore. And people don't want to do that, right? For a whole variety of reasons. Our process and many processes, it's really about change management at the end of the day. Let's get focused on it. In order to do it, got to get people to change.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like just saying no is hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, I know a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs and whatnot. It's like they're trying to be all things to all people. We see a lot of companies who are just trying to say, oh yeah, we do that and we do that because they're just trying to get the business in the door, and I always say the fox that chases two rabbits goes hungry, because you're so distracted and there's like so many things going on, and you're chasing this thing one day and this thing the next. And so with kind of like the 80-20 strategy, the talent, M&A, and lean, what of those do you, when you come into a company or when you've come into companies, what do you see most businesses get wrong first?
Yeah, so we have a very simple 4-step process. So and generally, the issue that companies have is they have too many things they're focusing on, right? Which means they're focusing. If everything's bold, nothing's bold. By the way, I'm sure going to steal your line. If fox that chases two rabbits goes hungry. That's a great one. So so we come in and we start with just what's our goal, right? And the goal generally for most companies is quantitative. I'm here today. I need to grow to a certain size to create a certain event. So it's a numbers goal. It's not a very sexy thing to say numbers, but once you have that, that sizes the prize and tells you how big you got to do things. The next step is where you get ownership. So I can generally come in and within a week or so, I'll have a meeting with my team and the CFO. We'll have identified the numbers. We'll get agreement around that's where we're going. Step number 2 is then my team, the operators, the people really running the business, their job, their mandate is to create a strategy to deliver that goal, right? And not to do something different. So, we don't want, if we're making pumps, then we don't want to make airplanes, right? If we're in the restaurant business, then we don't want to get into the charity business, right? So it's what's the core. Now, that data we talked before about tells us what our core is, right? It tells us where we're making money and where we're not. Where we're making money is our core. Design and develop, and then we're going to implement a strategy around it. And since it's what we're already doing, it's really about subtraction being addition, right? Since we're going to be in there, we can do the strategy pretty quick. We generally would go the first 30 days, land on the goal. Second 30 days, what's the strategy? It's going to be naturally shallow. The third step is where people start showing themselves, and that's where they have to organize around that strategy. That's where change really starts happening, where rubber meets the road. Some people just won't do it. Maybe because they can't, maybe because they don't want to, maybe they don't believe, whatever it is. That's where you're going to see change happening. Sometimes it's change the people or change the people, right? And then the fourth step is where we start executing. So we'll do that over 100 days. Each one of those steps happen in about 30 to 45 days. And while all that's going on, we are communicating with the entire company. We're having town halls, all hands.
So it's really trying to like change the culture of a company, right? Because if you go in there, it's like you're coming in there and you're trying to change the culture that's already there, and you're trying to get people to maybe operate at a higher level than they currently are operating. And so it's like, how do you build a high performing culture quickly?
It's a really interesting point. And the number one piece of that is because they are designing the strategy themselves. They own it. They own it. So if I come in and I say, Mark, I've looked at the data and it says you're doing this, or we're doing this, or the company's doing this, and it's not working. So we're going to go do that. Mark's going to fight it every time, even if they say they're not, because they don't really believe. However, if I come in and I say, Mark, let's look at the data. The data tells us this. And then I ask the key question, what are you going to do about it? You have to put that plan together.
Right.
That means by very nature, you own that plan. Now, you can always have what I call malicious compliance, or they'll tell you what you want to hear. And that does happen from sometimes, but it's in the second or the third step after that when I say, okay, that's really interesting. I agree with your strategy. Now organize your team, your company, your group, whatever it is around that. That's where people really show if they believe or not believe it, because it's them. They're coming. I'm not telling them how to organize. I will look at it. I will measure it. I will monitor it and all that. But they're going to be held accountable for delivering and executing on that strategy. That's a game changer. You do that, you got to believe.
Right. Totally. I'm thinking about some of the smaller businesses, smaller companies. How would you implement something like this? You know, say like if there's like a team of 10, you know, you don't have big org and all this structure. Where do you think a smaller company should start?
Really at the same place. It's actually easier in a smaller organization because you don't have to travel all over the country and convince people and hold it. You're right there together. So any good leader is going to take and start out with, say, the leader's responsibility is to set where they're going. We are going here. You got to get buy-in to it, but they're the one that has the vision. They are the visionary in this equation, and they've determined this is our destination. This is what good looks like. And then any team, because if you're not only the visionary, but you're the chief cook and bottle washer, you know, either you're a very tiny organization, which is great, and you're going to do all of that, or you've got some small team, maybe it's 10 people. But think in your own life with your family or your loved ones or your friends, if you not only tell everyone what to do and when to do and how to do it, you're just a micromanager. Nobody wants to be part of that. Go home and tell your wife how to fix dinner, or go home and tell your kids how to do your homework, or whatever. Good luck, right? They say, I'll do this, but I got to do it my way. So you get buy-in, and sometimes your team does not believe in your vision. You have the wrong team then, right? You're going to make some changes. It's okay. Not everyone has to believe, but you've got to have a group around you who are totally bought into your vision as the owner, as the leader. They need to be in it, right? It's not a democracy. It's not meant to be a democracy. At best, it's a benevolent dictatorship, right? We're here, my company. This is your company, right?
Yep.
You do it. You've got this vision. You do podcasts. You do all the things. Suppose you hire someone, they go, man, I've really thought about this. I think we should be selling hamburgers. You'll be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So no, they got to believe in Mark's vision. Then the really key to this is, I believe, no matter how big that team is, you say, all right, we've agreed I'm doing podcasts. What are you going to contribute to getting us more podcasts? And they'll tell you. If you tell them, you're going to have to measure and monitor them all the time because they won't understand it. But if they tell you, they own the responsibility of delivering that. It's the same way all the time. It's their vision now, right? They've taken we're going to this this better promised land of doing bigger podcasts. If they tell you how they're going to get there, they'll make sure they get there. They
And
own it.
then you hold them accountable based off of their measurements. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because, if you tell them it's podcast and they said hamburgers, you're going to be spending forever and they're going to say, all right, well, what's a podcast? You're like, oh, sweet Jesus, I'm in trouble. However, if they were hired and recruited, they knew you did podcasts, it's all out there, that business existing. And then you ask them, how do we do more of this? They're going to come up with some ideas. Now, you're going to give them feedback, right? They're not on their own. You're going to help them with other people. All right, let's get a team around you if you need team, or get consultants, or heck, I don't know, just buy ChatGPT and ask it, right? Yeah. Come up with something. And then you agree to it. Then you ask them, what's the first, once you've agreed to what they're going to do, what's the first or the next question you're going to ask them?
How are we going to get there?
How are we going to get there, and by when?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, that sounds really good. When do you think you can do that? And they go, I think I could maybe do that by Thursday. You go, I agree. Thursday's great. then you say, all right, so tell me your plan. And you agree there's 2 or 3 things that maybe they got to build an app. Maybe they change something on the website, but you agree. They tell you, go, okay, we'll get back together on Thursday. I want to see the app. And if it's far enough out, you might have some check-ins in the middle, right? Maybe it's 3 or 4 weeks out. And so the first Thursday, you see the websites update. The second Thursday, you're going to see the app updates. And maybe you're going to want some type of marketing on LinkedIn or Meta or wherever it is. But whatever that is, they'll tell you, you'll agree. All you're going to do is sit down when they say they're ready, that they've told you up front, and say, show me the website. Now you show up, the website's not done. What do you say?
It's like, you said this was going to be done. What got in the way? Yeah.
Yeah, what happened? And they say, well, I ran into this problem, and this happens all the time. In your mind, all you're trying to figure out was, is this an honest issue? Like, are they really trying, and they've discovered something they didn't know? If it is, thank God we know this, let's fix this. And does that date still hold or not? And if they say yes, I'll see you next Thursday. If they say, nope, I didn't realize that, I thought we were in WordPress, it turns out we're in Wix. I don't know anything about Wix. I got to go find that out. And then you go, okay, well, it turns out I didn't know we were on Wix either, because I probably hired someone to create the thing. So, but you get it, right?
Yeah. That's great.
That's really all it is. It's a conversation between you and another person who wants to be treated with dignity and respect. And you know what? People want to win. They really, truly do want to win.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Your job is to clear the path so they can go do it. Because
that makes a good leader, right?
It makes a good leader. They go, I got a problem. I don't know how to do Wix. And you go, I don't know how to do Wix either. Let me do some research. I'll be back. Or you ask them, how are you going to solve it? And it turns out, generally, what they need is resources. Sometimes it's capital, it's money. Sometimes it's someone else. You may know someone. Sometimes it's just more time, right? And you not so much negotiate, right? You know what? If they say it can be Thursday, then it's Thursday, right? If you believe it makes sense. But you're trying to support them in getting it done. And if they ask you for something, your job is to go figure that out too, just like it's their job.
Yeah.
That's great leadership.
Yeah. And that's great leadership. This is like, rewind this and watch this again. If you're listening to this, listen to it again, because that little nugget makes all the difference as far as leadership goes. It's like you are partnering with someone, they're setting the timeline, they're setting the goal, and then you're holding them accountable to it. And so and then you're providing the support and resources where it's needed. You know, if they need to be trained on Wix, well, so we found out that you need to be trained. So now let me as a leader pay for that training so that you can do the thing that you said you were going to do. And so, I think that can sum up a lifetime of leadership, you know, right there. For emerging leaders, and you've kind of been in this role for a while, what is the thing that some of these emerging leaders can think, and, you know, maybe what are some of the behaviors they can do to start acting like a CEO before they even get that title?
Yeah, and that's such a good point. You got to be acting like a leader before you become a leader, right? First, you learn to lead yourself, then you learn to lead others, then you learn to lead companies. That strategy in this most simplistic form is exactly how I lead multi-billion-dollar operations across. We're in 50 countries, 10,000 people. There is no way I can figure out what everyone's got going on. So what do? I set that vision. I work with my team, and then they have to do the same thing. It goes on down and down. And then we have tools, right? Whether it's Excel spreadsheet or Monday.com or whatever your favorite tracking tool is, you track those things and you help people go through it. You start out and you believe they want to win until they prove it otherwise. And sometimes they don't, right? And you have to help them go. You have to help them go someplace they can be. Maybe it's a different role in your company. Maybe it's outside the organization, right? So as a leader, the size really doesn't matter. You have to have a simplified process that you can go all across the world with it, because people are different. We speak different languages. We have different issues. We have troubles at home. You have all this stuff. Only so many hours in a day, right? So make sure you do it. And the key I found to this, Mark, is only focus on one or two things. And the data will tell you every time what your most important piece is. And I have had average plans that people believe in, that they work on, and we knock it out of the park. And I've had extraordinarily great strategies that fail because I couldn't get people to buy in. It was my strategy. I did all the work, right? So it's this kind of thing that that will make the difference for you and make the difference for your team out there. People want to work with people they believe in, they trust, that the people that they get that same responsibility back.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Look at you.
Look at me.
You're
Look at you.
a double wide at the end of a dirt road, and now you're here, and writing books and running companies.
We don't have wheels on it, so no one can take it. But hey, I kind of sometimes I miss that life. I get annoyed, like, holy hell, I got a 5 a.m. call because I got Europe, and then I got a midnight call because I got China. I love them all, and they're all so good to me. I can't believe it. But here we sit, right?
Yeah.
And you keep going through your life, and so today you got a great business doing podcasts. You do all these. I looked at your website. You have so many things you do all around a core idea, all around a core technology that you're leveraging across it. Then you ask yourself, all right, so how do I expand these things? What does that look like? And you will continue to put yourself and your team, if you've empowered them, they'll say, have you thought about this? And if you can stay within that core, whatever that made you what it is with it, if you can stay within that, you'll be surprised how big you can get, how much you can do with it, because people want to be on winning teams and they want to be in a group that they feel like they have some power, self-determination. They can get them own selves up. So when you come in, you're a leader. When you're an emerging leader, just try helping others get what they're trying to do, and start with that goal in mind of your business or someone else's business, wherever you're at with it. What is the goal? Where are we going with this thing? And then what's my role in getting us there? You'll be shocked at how much it is. Remember that guy I told you about running IT? Next day he's running a big business. Why? Because he was willing to take a bet on himself. Clearly the CEO knew he was a guy he could be trusted and depended on. And it was a moment of where he needed some help. And when you need help, sometimes you give people battlefield promotions, right? You might have been carrying a flag and beating the drum a moment ago. Here's your gun, charge, right?
You're the general now.
You're the general now. Hope that hat fits. We'll get you another one. So go get them, right?
That's awesome. Bill,
take that stuff serious.
Thank you so much, man. This has been a fun conversation. Fantastic. I love, you got great energy. So, the 80/20 CEO, did you enjoy writing that book, and do you have more books in the pipeline? Like, do you kind of see this writing and sharing your knowledge as kind of like your legacy as you're kind of coming into the back half of your career?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote the 80/20 CEO 2 years ago. It came out February was a year. We sold about 14,000 copies. That's actually a bestseller in
that's awesome.
Any land, which is shocking. I thought it was kind of small, but it turns out the average book sells less than 2,000 copies. So that's been a really big success. My next book is called From Panic to Profit. That comes out April 29th. So that's 5 days.
Yeah. All right. 5 days. All right.
Yeah, it's published by Wiley. It'll be in all fine bookstores. It'll be in 160 some airports around the country. And I think they'll have it in the Barnes & Noble on Times Square in the window there. So lots of fun things coming with that. The first book is really, there's three pieces. The first section is a little bit about me and my journey. The second section is how you actually take control of a company in 100 days. The third piece is the tools. The Panic to Profit is the journey that we all go through to take a company and get it on the right tracks, to really take care of people, look after them, get that company going, so that you can really build something that's long term. So it's a fun read. It's a great timing with what we're going in around.
Yeah,
The world's
seriously.
always crazy. We're no different now. But the title, I think, is going to resonate with people, and I think they'll really get something out of it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And and you know this better than I know this, but I've seen this some in my short time here, is that we always go through these cycles, right? Things are always, you had the oil embargo in the 80s, and then the Gulf War in the 90s.
Now, Mark,
and
you don't remember the 80s. You weren't even born in the 80s, I'm betting.
I was a baby, but that we had these cycles, and sometimes you get so caught up and fearful and living, oh no, it's like, the .com bubble, and then the 08 crash, and here we are with tariffs and all these things, and it's like, you know what, this too shall pass. But it's important to just wake up every day, work hard, be present, and do your best, and it'll all work out. Don't fear. Like, just keep moving forward.
Look, we live in the greatest country in the world, right? I traveled all over the world, been to 136 countries. Nothing beats America. Tariffs have been around. They really came around in 1923 with the Smoot-Hartley Act, just before the Depression. Mm-hmm. They've been here forever, right? We know how to deal with these things. We don't like uncertainty. Businesses don't like. We like know what we're doing, but we don't generally care what it is, just as long as we know we can plan for it. So we're going to get through this. Like you just said, we got through all this other stuff. There'll be something else coming next, right? But no matter how you feel, we are blessed to be where we are, mm-hmm. and good old initiative and getting out there and figuring it out. That's what made this country great. It's what made all this stuff happen, is people like you and me, whether you came from a double-wide trailer or a silver spoon, doesn't matter. It's the effort you put in. It's the actions that you take. It's the difference that you make in people's lives and careers that really determine just how far you go in your life.
Yeah, that's a great wisdom, Bill. Hey, we like to leave everybody with, one is, where can people connect with you? Obviously, they can get your book everywhere it's sold. From Panic to Profit's going to be out here. This episode won't be out for a few weeks, so it'll be in stores by the time this episode, comes out. So get that book. Where else, if people wanted to connect with you and maybe follow, where's the best place?
Yeah, the easiest, go to my website. It's my name, BillCanady.com. It's just the way it's spelled here on the screen, but BillCanady.com. There you can, we do keynote speaking, we do coaching, we do training, all that. We have the books and things like that. So a lot of really cool things. We're launching a new initiative that's also will be out by this. It's called the 80/20 Institute. So it's all about courses and learning, online training and things like that. That'll be available for people who are interested in not only how to run a company and get better at that, but really how to make yourself better, how to take and go out there and accomplish the things that you want to see.
Yeah, lead yourself.
That's
so
right.
that you can lead other people well. So that's
right.
Good. So we like to leave people with, maybe one thing that they can start Monday morning. They can wake up and start working on something. What would be that one thing that you would say, hey, it's Monday morning, I'd say you should start doing this?
Yeah. The hardest thing to do is focus on the critical few. The thing is, we know exactly what that is. It's the thing that we go back to time and again. As you said, starting off, 80% of our wins come from 20% of the things you do. I'm going to challenge each and every one to go identify what that one thing is, and then lay that there, right? Understand what that is, and then ask yourself, do a Venn diagram. Say, this is where I am. This is where I want to be. What are the folks that have the same thing I want to do? Find that overlap. Find that key piece and start getting after it. That's going to make a bigger impact on your life than anything else, is focusing on the one thing that's going to get you where you want to go.
Love it. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us today. Hey, thank you for listening to The Friday Habit. You can go to thefridayhabit.com to find show notes for this episode, and there you can find links to our websites and ways to get in touch. And at the bottom of the page, you can download our Friday Habit system that will show you how to set aside one full day each week dedicated working on your business instead of always in your business. You can email us at hello@thefridayhabit.com. And until next time, remember, live every day like it's Friday.